appropriately. My name is Matt Sablon, and on Monday we created a D&D subclass, and our goal here is to do it again today. Again, these subclasses are things I'm slowly building and working on for my own personal setting. We'll go through what we've created in the past, and then we'll decide what we're going to work on today. We won't go into all of the subclasses, but I just want to sort of show them. We've got our rogue subclass, which is the agent. We've got our bard, the Evangel of Norella. We've got our fighter, who's a glory hound. And then what we made on Monday, our warlock patron, Pact of the Queen. So we'll now go ahead and bring this up. We were looking at Barbarian, but let's go over here to our world book for Aryssan, where we're going to decide Barbarian might be what we make, but here's the things we have left to make. Artificer, Barbarian, Clerics, Druids. It won't be Monk, because I still don't have a good idea of what a monk should do. Nope, don't want to do it that way. Paladin, same thing. I'm gonna have to wait on that because I know the flavor, but I don't know mechanics. We could do a ranger today. I might be able to convince myself to do a ranger. Sorcerer will also be pretty complicated, so I'm not ready to dive into sorcerer or wizard quite yet. But since last time we did a warlock, let's do something martial. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna say we're gonna make our Dunestalker barbarians. So the idea here is that they're from the Ascent of War, which is at the top of the world. It's a big desert landscape that's constantly under attack from the sun god, and so the Dunestalkers are essentially nomad barbarians who fight with two weapons because they need to be mobile to deal with the two major threats that exist at the Ascent of War, which are Formian psychics and mobile celestial enemy commanders. So there we go. We've got a little bit of world building put in, and now we just have to actually build a barbarian Dunestalker. So, this page, if you remember, is the subclasses guide. So barbarians get features at 3, 6, 10, and 14. So not that hard to do. You can see I already kind of brought up our barbarians. And here, I'm going to go ahead and start building. And we want to create a subclass. For barbarian, we don't need a template. Create from scratch. You know what? We don't need. Yeah, we'll keep the path of the because it's how it should work. My version numbering is terrible. All right, I did save some stuff so that we knew what our short description should look like, and we're gonna rewrite all of this because that's part of the process that we're doing here today. And this. So, first of all, we need to do some world building, right? We're not members of the and evade the external threats and evade threats from celestial and Formian alike. The Dunestalker. Not fighting or defending their kin. Dunestalkers. So we're going to give them this a place in society other than murder machines, right? Dunestalkers have mastered complex dances to create patterns across that tell the story of their people, their triumphs and defeats. Alright. Let's spell defeats right. We need a few more paragraphs. Alright, so in the world we're in here, we've given the Dunestalker a little bit of a place in the world. They're defenders of their families, their caravans, but they're also storytellers. They tell the story of their caravan. They have these complex dances to make patterns in the sand, and that's part of their combat style as well, right? We're going to have them have some complex movements. We're going to also have this be a chance for, if you're a barbarian and you want to use paired weapons, you can. Because we're going to make this, we're going to take advantage of that offhand that barbarians could have if they didn't use great weapons or shields. So next we're going to move to the longer description. Barbarian who is choosing the path. Place in the social sphere. In a way, barbarians Dunestalkers are at their best when using 2 weapons and fighting and given space to maneuver. Their rage will often be presented more as a tranquil combat trance where they fight through muscle memory. Rather than anger, though mechanically it is the same. Are a core part of their nomad caravan, and even young Dunestalkers will be given responsibilities for the caravan that go beyond defense. Alright, so now we've said what you are. A Dunestalker is pretty much always welcome, right, to any group or they're known to be loyal, stalwart, play a Dunestalker if. I don't know where I ever saw this like play a whatever if write-up style, but I really like it, and I feel like it's a great thing to use. Alright, so the other thing I like about this is it lets me set up what we want to do. You imagine you're a barbarian. You want So there we go. The other thing about this play a Dunestalker or whatever if is it lets me get an idea of what this subclass should do, right? So you're a wise and powerful barbarian that acts with tranquil fury on the battlefield. So our idea here is, unlike all those other barbarians who go into a rage and smash, you go into this like tranquil fury where you've got muscle memory and things like that, and you're just more like you're more of a go with the flow, and that's why we have these like dances and things like that. Speaking of, since we talk about evading threats and complex dances to create patterns, so you want to be a barbarian that uses two weapons and creates zones of control in combat. That's what I believe these dances are going to do for us. Not sure how yet because we haven't gotten to the mechanical part of building this subclass, but I think it's important to, at least have an idea in mind. You imagine you're a barbarian as a person with a place in their society and not an outcast. Kind of just a role play thing there. And you want to make complex movements on the battlefield to confuse and deceive your enemies. So there we go. We have a mechanical idea now of what the Dunestalker is going to do. So they've got to be able to control the battlefield through their dances, and their dances need to confuse and deceive their enemies. In addition, we need to make sure that we find some way to reward the barbarian and let them use two weapons without, losing all of the cool stuff they get for being a barbarian when they rage. And then building a Dunestalker. Like all barbarians, it's on strength and constitution first. Do not neglect your dexterity. And if you have the ability to, make sure to have a positive wisdom modifier. So we're going to create the subclass. And there we are. There we have it. We've got all of the stuff for the path of the Dunestalker. And so let's go here. We get things at 3, 6, 10, and 14. So here's our barbarian. So the first thing we want to do is at level 3, we need to fix the fact that, dual wielding isn't good on barbarians generally. So here's Rage. You can enter Rage as a bonus action. Alright. And then let's look at what... I usually stick to just the player handbook classes. So the Berserker gets Frenzy at level 3, which is kind of their defining thing. Oh, and then the Totem Warrior gets it gets Bear, and that's really good. So we're gonna break this here. We're gonna give 2 things at level 3. One is something that fixes Barbarian dual wielding, just because I think I'm trying to figure out maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. When you make a melee weapon attack, yeah, no, it's not as bad as I thought. Alright. Because I might lose this subclass page while I go do this. So here's what we need to now learn. 2-weapon fighting. Alright. So here, I think, is what we need to fix, right? We want it to be that when you're raging, well, then they'd have to carry around a whole bunch of different weapons. Alright. We want to look at... Can we fix this easily by just giving them the 2-weapon fighting? We might be able to just fix it as easily as that. Because barbarians normally don't get a fighting style, but I think I think that's an easy fix. Starting at 3rd level, you gain the 2-weapon fighting style. Alright, and then the other thing we'll need to give them at level 3 if you want, I don't know if I'll be able to click over to look at them, but yeah, no, if you want, feel free to share. And then we just need the Dunestalker Rage snippet starting at 3rd level. When you enter a rage, you gain additional benefits. Oh yeah, unfortunately I'm not going to be able to click over to that, but I will try and look at it when I'm done. When you enter a rage, you gain the following abilities. Where's my bulleted list? So here's what we need to give our Dunestalker, right? Because can I open this in a new tab? Because what we promised people is creating a zone of control. So when you so what we want, that's not a bad idea. So what we're trying to do here is they do their sand dance, right, and they control an area. So we want to find a way to basically say, in anywhere that you moved during your turn, if an enemy enters that square, you can use your reaction to jump to them. We need to find a way to say this without it being a giant amount of bookkeeping for the barbarian on every turn. During your move, each square you move through is part of your, I don't want to call it a zone of control. We want to call it something nice and fancy. I can't click over to it now because if I try to, it's gonna bring it up on the stream and everyone's going to see it. And since I don't know what's on that link, I don't wanna click it when when who knows what's over there. I assume it's just a Google Doc of stuff, and that's why I'm gonna look at it afterwards. But if I do it now, it's gonna a mess up my cycle of links here for all of the stuff that I have to look at. Like light and mirrors or like light magic? During your move. Like literally light or like. Oh, okay, okay. So do they get spells or just spell like abilities? When you move, you create a dune pattern. Part of your dune pattern. On another creature's turn, if it moves on a square that is okay. If on another creature's turn, if it is part of if it moves on a square that is part of your dune pattern, you may use your reaction to move to that creature and take an attack. The line and religion and light. Reading it as a bonus action, you can choose make a ranged spell attack using wisdom for the attack roll. Oh, okay, so it gives the rogue another option to try and land sneak attack if it's not in a good position. I don't need that anymore. You know what? There are very specific conditions and things, and so trying to figure that out is actually kind of hard. So let's just say on all strength, dexterity, constitution, and wisdom saving throws. And that's actually kind of a neat way to use to build up the ray there. When you're in Dune pattern. So there we go. We've given exactly what we said, right? You have a zone of control. If people try to get by you, you can jump to them. And while you're in your own zone of control, you've got advantage on most of the important saves, except for intelligence and charisma. We really didn't need to say strength because you're going to be raging, but whatever. We'll give you multiple ways to have it. Granted, required class level 3. This is our second one. So the important thing here, we have an action now, and it is Dune pattern interception. Level 3. I don't need any of this. What am I looking for? Activation type, reaction, snippet. Dune pattern, you may use your reaction. And I think that's all you really need to get at 3. You get your offhand Cloak of the Dawn. Let me read that real fast. Long rest. Oh, okay, so a variant on hide in plain sight. It's thematic. I like it. So our next level, Barbarian, is 6. And if we look at our... the Berserker doesn't really get anything neat at 6. Can't be charmed or frightened. And then Totem Warrior gets another choice of a bunch of stuff. So, again, it looks like Barbarians are one of those classes that doesn't gain a whole lot. Of course, that doesn't gain a whole lot from their path. So we need to be careful not to give them too much power. As it is, that interception might be their defining thing about the class, and everything after this might just be making that a little bit better, or a ribbon ability here or there to kind of give them a little more flavor. But honestly, it looks like except for, bear at level 3. You get neat stuff, but it's not super defining. Some of the other books do get really neat stuff like the beast and the wild magic that's pretty defining, but the general gist of it is it doesn't feel like you're getting a whole lot from Berserker and Totem Warrior. So it's possible Berserker's just low on the power curve, and so maybe we should be using Battle Rage or Ancestral Guardian or something else as the power baseline. But essentially, level 6 can be kind of, I don't want to say boring, but it can be a little, it doesn't need to be as flashy as our Dunestalker Rage. So let's see what we've promised people to be able to do. Alright. Make complex movements on the battlefield to confuse and deceive your enemies. Alright. So at level 6, we need to give something that deals with confusing and deceiving enemies. So. While you're within your Dune pattern, you're capable. Confusion's a pretty good effect, and I think we don't want to give literal confusion, and we definitely don't want to try and force the barbarian to also dip into charisma. So I think what we need to do is figure a way to work this. And so I think what we want to do is we want to do magic sand, right? So it's going to be like you have sand whipping around you, like obscuring how you're moving and trying to get in people's eyes with it, and it's like a connection to the sands that you bring with you wherever you go. And that way we can use survival wisdom as the baseline for the skill checks. It's your ability to, commune with. Maybe we could even use. We don't want to use nature because that's intelligence. But that way, it's I communed with nature. I'm one with the sands and the dunes, and because of that, I'm able to make it do what I want, which includes hiding which weapon I'm going to attack with next, or it's able to get in my opponent's eyes, or it maybe even like we probably wouldn't do it for a barbarian, but like makes a sand clone that eats a hit. Actually, I kind of like that. Barbarians are already pretty beefy, but it's an idea. when you're within your secure your intentions. Starting at 6th level, mastered the ways, the dunes, and wherever you walk within your dune pattern, no matter the terrain, you are surrounded by swirling sands. Yeah, see, being obscured is definitely one of the things we were going to go for, because I know one thing that most marshals hate is getting shot, and giving them, that, what is it, +2 AC if you have cover, will do a lot to not get shot. But let's make sure that I have our let's read up on the rules on cover just to make sure that we're doing it right. Okay, so we're going to actually have to define what kind of cover. So a target with half cover has +2 Mona. Let's call it half cover. You are considered to have half cover from ranged attacks and effects that would cause you to make a saving throw. Creatures that attack you in melee must make a saving throw. A Constitution Oop, nope, don't do that. Constitution saving throw, and let's spell everything right. DC 8 plus your con mod plus proficiency, or be blinded. When attacking from within your dune pattern, you may make a survival, wisdom. You may make a contested against your target's insight, wisdom. If you succeed, your attack has your attacks for this turn have advantage. If you choose, and I feel like that's enough for 6th level. You're harder to shoot. Things in melee may blind themselves trying to attack you through your sand, and you have a chance to get advantage on all of your attacks. Which you're a level 6 barbarian at this point, so it's 1/2 main hand, 1 offhand. That's not bad. That's pretty good for level 6. And this is our 3rd class feature. Oh no, wait. And let's actually create an action. General Dune pattern deception. Here, let's save because I want to steal the exact language from up here. When attacking from within your Dune pattern, for this turn against that target, have advantage. You may only use this against one target per turn. Path of the Dunestalker. Next, level 10. Let's look at our player handbook version of the Barbarians again. Okay, so level 10's a pretty big one. Because the Berserker gets to start frightening things left and right. There's not a whole lot that's really easy to frighten by level 10, but still, you get to do it. And then let's look at what the Totem Warrior gets at 10. I think it gets another... Oh. So, that's neat. But I kind of know what we want to give here. So, we've already gotten the whole confuse, deceive your enemies. We've got a created zone of control. So, level 10 is going to be boring, but important. Dunestalker's freedom. Starting at 10th level, when you enter, while you are within your Dune pattern, you have the effect of freedom of movement. In addition, hostile creatures treat your Dune pattern as difficult terrain. So, this is one of those things that when we come back and do an editing pass, we might think, why did I think that was a good idea? Because freedom of movement is really good, but it kind of makes sense for our guy who dances through the sands, right? So, boring, but super important and a huge power spike at level 10. Freedom of movement. And then I believe level 14 is our last feature. 14 is our last feature. So this one's going way faster than any of the other ones I've done. Knock things prone, move faster and attack. Move through things. Okay. Level 14 totemic attunement's not that great. And retaliation's pretty good. It ensures your berserker's going to use their reaction almost every turn. So we need a feature. And it needs to be at level 14. Do they call them offhand weapons? When you use two weapon fire. All right, this went really quick. I assume because barbarians are fairly straightforward. So let's go back. Creations, type, subclasses, filter. So before we hit share with community, let's do what we always do and make sure this actually works. Create a character, standard, homebrew content, and let's be a gnome. Let's be a gnome, deep stalker, a Dunestalker. 3, primal path. Step 1, let's go fix the name. Oh, I can't change the name. Oh, there I can. Aryssan. So that everyone knows that that's part of our wonderful Aryssan world book. It'll take a while to fix, but let's make sure that when you engage in, got it. Dune pattern. All right, that shows up. Next up, level 6. Dunestalker pattern walking. There we go. Level 10 is our next one, and this should be Dunestalker's Freedom. Yep. And then our last feature is at 14, which is Master Pattern Walker, or Master Pattern Maker. And there we go. The features all load properly. Now let's just make sure that the interception we just need to make sure the interception action shows up on the character sheet. Action, it's a reaction, Dune pattern interception. There it is. So there we go. We have made ourselves a barbarian. And I thought it was really fun. Thank you for joining, and I liked your light rogue. I like it gives the rogue some options, and it has a neat new look at hide in plain sight. So thank you for sharing that. That was kind of neat. I don't know. I wasn't expecting to get done so fast. So let's go Path of the Dunestalker, save changes. Yeah, it is. We're using a double hyphen. So Aryssan, Path of the Dunestalker. And share with community. Well, thank you all for joining. That went pretty quickly. I guess I had a good idea for what I wanted my barbarian to do, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for tagging along.